Welcome to Creepy Life Podcast, the podcast for everything creepy. I'm Thomas.
I'm Sparky, and I'm going to give you a warning right now. This is not a good episode to listen to if you're eating or if you just ate.
Yeah, I'm really nervous about this because she would not tell me what story she is going to tell us.
Any guesses?
There's so many possibilities in my twisted mind, but, last episode I did tell a story, so it is your turn. So what are you going to hit us with?
Okay, let me ask you a question. What do you think of when you think of Wendy's?
Are you doing the finger in the chili?
Yup. It's not necessarily the creepiest thing, but it's kind of like a nightmare situation.
I don't know. If I ordered a bowl of chili and found a finger in it, I'd be creeped out.
I don't think creeped out is really the right word. I would be disgusted.
No, I'd be creeped out. Then I'd be disgusted. Then I would go kill someone.
Cool.
Yep.
That's a reasonable response.
You don't mess with a man's chili.
Okay. I would disagree with you, but...
You don't even like chili, so just...
It's okay. Just no beans, okay? Fight you. So, I did a lot of digging in this one. And there's a lot more to the story than I had ever heard about, so hopefully you will enjoy this story.
Yeah, because I haven't heard much about it, except I remember, I think the news covered a little bit when I was a kid and it first really came out. But other than, someone finding finger in chili, I don't really know much.
Okay. So, this was in March of 2005, so 15 years ago. Holy cats.
Wow, 15 years ago. I remember it so vividly, actually, 2005.
Why?
My sister was starting school.
Oh. We're baby sisters.
Yeah, I was 12.
I was not. I'm an old fart. It was March 22nd, and there is a woman who's named... It was pronounced two different ways. I'm going to go with Anna, because it's spelled with two N's. It's either Anna or Anna. And I think her last name is Ayala. Ayala.
How's it spelled?
Like that. Ayala.
I think it's Ayala. There's a model on Instagram
Ayala.
that I follow. She
We're
pronounces
going to
it
go
that
with
way.
that. Yeah, cool. So she was 39 at the time, and she was living in Las Vegas, but she was at a diner in San Jose at the Wendy's. And according to another diner, she ran through the restaurant saying, "Don't eat it, look, there's a human finger in our chili," which, gross. And according to her, she had bitten into the fingertip while she was eating. I watched one video that was her original interview with Good Morning America, and she was like, "I was just eating and eating and eating." The way she described it was really kind of funny. And then she's like, "Oh," and then it was just crunchy and hard all of a sudden. I was like, "Oh, God."
No.
I did not want to think about that. So she took it up to the counter, and the employees apparently thought it was just a vegetable, or that's what they were telling other customers, because they were trying to not get people to freak out. But they were poking at it with a spoon, like, "Ooh, what's this?" But apparently at least 3 people in the restaurant were sick from that.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember at a town I used to live in, I'm not going to name names because, but a woman found a rat's foot
Ew.
in some meat that she had ordered at this restaurant. And I mean, that is still technically an animal. But a human finger? Yeah, I don't want to eat rats either.
That's like when your sister found a chicken foot in her soup.
Well, that was chicken foot soup.
I don't know, but I couldn't do it.
Her husband's from Peru. He eats interesting food to us.
Can't do it. Ayala, I'm just going to call her Anna, she claimed that she also threw up, but I think there was video footage, and it didn't show that she threw up. So maybe she threw up in her mouth a little bit, which I probably would have,
I mean, yeah, we've all been there. We've thrown up a little bit and just manned up and swallowed it.
Ew. It's like that episode of The Office where Pam's pregnant and Dwight's eating a hard-boiled egg and she throws up and then everybody else throws up. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Anyway, so they were looking at the fingertip. It was about 1.5 inches long. It had a long fingernail on it, and it appeared to have been cooked. When the police were called, it sounded like they pretty much told them, hey, we can't deal with this right now, put it in the freezer. Your face is great.
So, a human finger has been served to a person. It looks like it's been cooked. Was it, like, cleanly severed? Like, a saw did it?
You know, I don't... We find out later how it was severed, but I don't know that information.
Because, quite honestly, I think anytime you find a body part, that's something cops really have to look into.
Yeah, I know. And that was from... because I listened to an episode of Stuff You Should Know, because they covered this as well. And they had a lot of really good information, and that was one of the things they mentioned on there, that the cops were like, just, we'll come and deal with it in the morning, put it in the freezer for now. Which does not seem hygienic to me.
No, and let's also remember how many serial killers dismember their victims.
Right. Well, and... You know, they kind of touched on this in that podcast, that the police didn't really think it was a big deal. They figured maybe an employee had an accident and it wasn't going to be a huge thing. You know, so they weren't taking it super seriously. But the Wendy's also dumped out all of their chili, as, you know, they should have.
Yeah.
And I do want to also say, I'm not going to talk about that podcast the whole time, but they did mention that there was one guy who apparently, like, went to Wendy's for chili the next day, and he said that, you know, now would be the best day to get it, because there's no way there's going to be another finger in there. You know, they're going to be really careful.
That's true.
Okay, so then the Santa Clara County health officials took over, and they quickly figured out, you know, none of the employees here are missing a finger, so it's nobody here. They couldn't find a match using DNA or fingerprints, though. But apparently they did do a polygraph test on all the employees, and they all passed, but polygraph tests are worthless anyway.
You know, I just gotta say, as you said that, my mind immediately was, how did they do a polygraph test on a finger? I don't know if I'm sleep deprived or what, but that's what came to my mind.
And they just put the little knobs on there. Well, when I did a polygraph test in my high school psychology class, and I think that was what they did. They put like
don't they put like a little clip on your finger or something?
Yeah, kind of like when you go to the hospital or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was able to trick it, but I was really nervous, but it still like wasn't registering anything, so I don't know if I'm just a really good liar or what.
No, they're
Which
just,
is funny because I'm really not a good liar.
They're just pseudoscience. They can't really prove anything.
Yeah, anyway. So they also figured out that even though it appeared to be cooked, it was not consistent with being cooked at 170 degrees for 3 hours, so it wasn't cooked with the chili. I know. Sneaky face.
So it's a plant.
And the employee that made the chili had like 10 years experience with the company, so it was very unlikely that it was just an accident. And Wendy's, you know, they're not happy because this is really bad for publicity, so they were offering $50,000 for information about it.
When did this happen exactly? 2005? Mm-hmm. So there is no way Jeffrey Dahmer was involved.
Probably not.
Because we know he liked to, you know...
Yeah, no.
He got the munchies once in a while.
Oh my god. So at this time, Anna, who was the person that was eating the chili, she started to look suspicious because she hired a lawyer. And in any criminal case, whenever you hire a lawyer, that's like number one, like, hey, I'm guilty. Guess what?
Yeah, if you're the victim and you lawyer up, that's, yeah.
Before they come after you, yeah, it doesn't look good on you.
Especially if a restaurant has done something like this, and I'm not saying that Wendy's did it, but if you go somewhere and you get something and you get really sick, they're not going to come after you like in a legal case. They're going to do what they can to make it right so that they get good publicity.
That's true.
They're not going to lawyer up and try and sue you for this.
Yeah,
they're going to want it to disappear, not go on forever.
So why would she hire a lawyer if she was innocent?
Because it's really her dead husband's fingers.
Dun, dun, dun. No,
it's not Carl Baskin's, okay.
Oh my goodness. So... Sorry, I lost my spot. So then the police got a warrant for her house because they had figured that she was involved somehow. And she claims that they held a gun to her head and assaulted her daughter and ransacked the house. Like, yes, that seems completely reasonable.
That's standard police behavior. I have an uncle that was a cop in California. That's totally normal.
Well, apparently, the daughter, had, her arm in a sling, but it was just, a sling that you could buy anywhere. So it's yes, that's...
I'm pretty sure Dollar Tree sells slings and wraps.
What was that?
There was a game I forgot about that was updating. I will edit this out.
Okay, so break for 5 seconds?
Or we can leave it in. It's fine. Just keep going.
Okay. So after they ransacked her house, supposedly, the law and police officers discovered she had quite a history of civil lawsuits. She had 13 former lawsuits against a bunch of people. One was against General Motors because she claimed the front wheel of her car fell off, but then she decided not to show up in court. So it was dismissed with prejudice, which means she can't try again because she didn't show up. So obviously that one probably not legit either.
Yeah.
She also apparently sued a former employer for sexual harassment, but that one was dropped. And she says that she received a settlement from a restaurant when her daughter got salmonella, and the restaurant was El Pollo Loco, but the restaurant says that that never happened.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what the deal was there. And then there were also rumors, going back to the actual current Wendy's, there were rumors that the finger was from a dead aunt, and I don't know where that rumor started, but Anna claimed that all of her aunts were alive. So that didn't make any sense.
Yeah, what kind of person? I realized that since it probably was planted by someone, I'm assuming financial gain. Mm-hmm. But who really is sick enough to dismember their dead family members for financial gain? Honestly, I mean...
There's probably some people.
Nah, that is true.
I don't know. But,
Still.
So that was, like, the beginning of April that they did that, I believe. I didn't get a date for that one. Mid-April, Anna dropped the case saying that it had caused too much emotional distress. Which, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, always thinking the cops are gonna come in and arrest you because you're lying.
Yeah.
Definitely causes emotional stress.
And then about the same time, someone called the tip line they had set up and said that the woman might belong to, or the woman, the finger might belong to a woman named Sandy Allman, and this was a wild turn that I had never heard of before. So she lived about 45 minutes from Vegas, which is where Anna and her family live. And a month prior to the incident at Wendy's, she lost her fingertip when she was attacked by a leopard, sorry. Yeah.
She lost her finger.
Yeah. She was attacked by a leopard, and I was like, what is a leopard doing in Nevada? So I had to look into that some more. She apparently owned a lot of exotic animals and had like a cat rescue, so she has Carol Baskins, I guess.
And true, it is Vegas, let's face it. Siegfried and Roy had a tiger.
That's true.
Or multiple tigers at one point.
When she lost it, it couldn't be reattached, and when she went to the doctor, they tried to give it back to her in a bag of ice, and she was like, I don't want that. So she doesn't know what happened to it after that, but she did agree to do a DNA test, but I think they decided just not to do it because the finger portion that she lost was only about half the size of the finger that was in the chili, so it couldn't have been hers. But still, I do want to pause here and just say that one of my sources had the best headline ever. It was leopard fingered in Wendy's chili case.
That is amazing.
I was like, this is seriously the best headline I've ever seen in my life. So that was a really crazy turn that ended up in nothing. But shortly after that, Wendy's upped the reward to $100,000 because they really wanted to get this figured out. They had estimated losses. I saw a couple different numbers. One was $2.5 million up to $21 million.
Okay, yeah, because I can remember this happening when I was like 12.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were living in a place that had Wendy's, and we vowed never to go there.
Right.
Like, my mom would talk about how when she was younger, she would eat Wendy's chili, and it was the best. Mm-hmm. But I think I only went to a Wendy's maybe in the last year.
Yeah. So we stopped there one day. I don't remember where we were going.
I remember one time I had to pick up lunch for my boss once when I was working at the garage, and he sent me to Wendy's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think that that's necessarily a huge damper on their profits now, but I do think, like, definitely, I mean, I'm not a chili person anyway, but, like...
I am.
I know you are. I would, like, never go to Wendy's and get chili. Even though I've heard that they have the best, like, fast food chili. I don't know.
I'd rather just make my own chili.
I know. Anyway, so, April 21st... Anna was arrested on charges of attempted felony grand larceny and grand theft. And the larceny was related to the chili. Apparently, the grand theft was because she allegedly tried to sell a mobile home that did not belong to her in 2002 and 2003.
Lovely.
I wish I could do that. Just sell other people's houses and get the profits.
Yeah.
But, so the next day, Wendy's had a press conference, and they were, trying to fix their image. They were offering, like, free Frosties with any purchase for the Bay Area, and then they moved to, like, free Junior Frosties for everybody. You don't have to buy anything else. They're just trying to get people to come back. So then in May, the police announced that they found the owner of the finger. Any more guesses on who it is?
I did know a guy growing up that was missing the tip of a couple fingers. Is his name Dan?
No.
Okay.
I have distant family member that is missing part of her pinky because it slammed in a screen door when she was little.
Was it her?
No.
Okay.
It belonged to Ryan Rossiter. New character, plot twist. He worked with Anna's husband, Jaime Plasencia, and Rossiter lost his finger in an industrial accident involving a tailgate at their asphalt factory.
Ow!
I know.
Ow! I've had my hand slammed in a car door before. I can only imagine bad enough to sever a finger.
I know. It makes my stomach hurt thinking about it. So this is the best part. So Anna's husband, Jaime, ended up with it when Rossiter sold it to him to settle a debt of $50.
Well, you owe me $50, but that finger there looks really nice. Let's call it even.
Right? Yeah. Like, I don't know that I would want. Why would you want that unless they had like this plan the entire time, like for something to like, I don't know, like.
Yeah, because I mean, it was just an average finger. If it was. A lot of scientists have skeletons of people that were born with deformities. Like, what was it? They called him the Elephant Man. I can't remember his real name. But he had all those deformities, so his skeleton was on display for a while. Mm-hmm. But just a finger?
It's just
there's
a fingertip.
nothing to study with just a fingertip.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a pointer finger, probably, where, like, you could unlock somebody's iPhone or something with it,
I use my thumb.
Well, I use my finger because your thumb is not a finger. You're staring at me. Okay.
Weirdo.
So it sounded like that tip was called in by their employer. So he figured out, like, I had an employee lose a finger before this happened. And that employee is friends with the husband of the person this happened to. Maybe it was his. So it was his. Anyway, September 9th, they both pled guilty. And Anna was subsequently banned from all Wendy's locations.
Wait. Now, when you said they both pled guilty, do you mean the guy that lost the finger?
No, her husband.
Oh, I was going to say, if you lost a finger and just gave it to someone, and then they use it in a crime, and you get,
Yeah, well, see, that's not like... It's not like a gun or like drugs or something where you can go back to the person that sold it to you and say you're responsible for this, because it's just a fingertip.
Although, if you were to leave that fingertip at a crime scene... They could come back at the guy and be like, what were you doing?
They could.
Use it just to leave a fingerprint,
Just, here.
Rob a bank and take a severed finger and, touch everything with it.
There you go. So, in January of 2006, Anna was sentenced to 9 years in state prison, and her husband was sentenced to 12. And I think it was longer because he provided the fingertip, because... She did put it in her own chili, in case you didn't get that.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
And I do think it's funny that it was cooked, but it wasn't cooked in the chili, so she must have, like, taken it home and been, like, putting it in a skillet, like, here we go. Heat this up real nice.
So, the real lesson is, if you're going to take a severed finger and put it in chili, go buy a can of chili and slow cook it for 3 hours first.
Yes, and make sure it's the same chili as the Wendy's chili.
So go buy some Wendy's chili.
You could.
And then slow cook the finger in that chili.
Right.
That's
See,
how you do it.
One of the best things was I watched a couple of videos on YouTube relating to this case, and autoplay must have been on because it finished one like news clip or whatever, and then it went on to the next video, which was a like fake recipe for homemade Wendy's chili.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, good job, YouTube. Wow. But anyway, so she ended up only serving 4 years because the judge had apparently done his own research outside of the courtroom and like outside of the jury's deliberations. So they took 5 years off her sentence for that.
Okay. What about her husband? He served the full 12?
I didn't find information on that.
Huh.
Because I got distracted.
Huh. Interesting.
So shortly after she got out of prison in 2010, she said that she learned her lesson and she just wanted to move on from this. However, the story does not end there.
I'm listening.
So she was arrested again in 2013. Do you want to guess why?
She put a toe on a Whopper.
Yes, a Whopper toe. No, it's actually completely different. But her son, Guadalupe, is that his name? I don't know. Reyes, he accidentally shot himself in the ankle, which shouldn't be a big deal, right?
Except that she was convicted of a felony and the gun was hers.
He was on parole, and it was a felony for him to be in possession of a firearm. And I believe that they were living under the same roof.
Wait,
so,
isn't she a felon as well?
I believe so, yeah.
So neither of them had any
been.
business with a firearm.
So even that just by itself, probably wouldn't have been as big of a deal. But to try to get out of it, they blamed 2 other innocent men for the shooting. And I don't know why they would think it takes 2 people to shoot someone in the ankle.
Well, maybe each person only had half a hand, so they had to go together to hold steady and pull the trigger.
Because they'd been putting their fingers in chili all the time.
Exactly.
So
underground finger chili ring.
And apparently they told some really convincing lies, and they almost got away with it too. But
wow, with that history, they almost got away with it.
I know, but so she pled no contest to 3 felony charges, which were being an accessory to a felony, filing a false police report, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. And then they both served 2 years in prison for the crime, so her son didn't get away with it either. And that is really the end of the story, but I did want to say that when we do these, we a lot of time talk about pop culture references. My Name is Earl, when he has the guy from the hot dog cart on his list.
Yes.
And they're trying to get the other hot dog business, out of business.
Yeah.
And Joy puts a toe in Darnell's hot dog, but didn't tell him about it.
That's right. I forgot about that one. I remember the hot dog cart that he stole and left in the woods. Mm-hmm. But yeah, because the other hot dog place, this guy had a better hot dog place. Yeah. So the other guy paid Earl to make it disappear.
Yeah, and it was Big Mike from Chuck.
Yes, Big Mike.
I've watched a lot of TV since this quarantine started. Just FYI, in case you couldn't figure that out.
It's okay. 90% of my life is TV.
I know. Anyway, so that is a story of the finger in the chili at Wendy's.
So now we know who fingered the chili.
Oh my goodness. It was a leopard.
You were so weird.
Oh my goodness. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah, thanks. This has been an interesting one. Thanks for hanging in there.
It's been something. If you want to share a story with us, could be about anything creepy related. If you know any stories about food or fingers in food or whatever, feel free to send us an email. Our email is creepylifepodcast@gmail.com. We also now have a Facebook page set up, Creepy Life Podcast, and there's a group as well. So search that up if you want to join us. We'd love to see some more people there, have some good discussions. We had some interesting ones about our subjects from last time, so...
Yeah, definitely. If you join the group, you can have lots of discussions. We'll be posting... Usually, if it's something that there's photographs for, we'll post them on the group, and we can discuss them.
Or the very interesting videos followed by the homemade Wendy's chili recipe.
Yes, we may post the homemade Wendy's chili recipe.
Yeah,
Because
anyway.
who doesn't want to make homemade Wendy's chili?
Right.
I've never even had it, but, it might be good.
Might be. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Stay creepy.